Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be reacting to my pre-season predictions. I will just say do not go and watch the video that I did back in July, but it's definitely an interesting one to look back on because there's some players and some predictions that I've got massively wrong for numerous different reasons, and there's some that maybe I have got slightly right. So let me know your thoughts on them in the comments down below. Let me know what you were thinking before the season started and reflecting on the season. But like I say, there's some big mistakes in here. So we're going to start off with top goal scorer. I predicted that Vadaine Oliver would be City's talisman for the season and would get maybe around 10 to 20 goals. And I did say as well, in to be all and end all if we don't get a 20 goal season striker. We obviously went on to get Andy Cook, who got 30 plus goals this season. But like I said, funnily enough, it won't be all and end all because you do need goals from other areas and you do need players to chip in. So looking back over the season, we were over relying on Andy Cook's 30 plus goals, and you do need other players to try and get around the 10 goals a season, your attacking midfielders. And unfortunately for Vadaine Oliver, he probably could be a flop of the season, and I'll probably do my end of season rewards later on in the week, but reflecting back on the season, but I think it just hasn't gone right for him because he hasn't got a good run in the team. He did get a good run around January time, and then back end of the season he got, I think it was a knee injury, it ruled him out for the end of the season, and he signed a 3-year deal. So looking back on that, it hadn't worked out, but did we play to his strengths? Did we give him enough game time? And Andy Cook massively took his place over him. So I think Vadaine Oliver's got to get right for the summer and try and challenge Andy Cook as best as he can for next season. So that'll be an interesting watch. In terms of the player who got the most assists, I predicted that Harry Chapman would be that player. Now he's played a lot this season as an attacking midfield, which isn't his preferred position, but at the same time, you've got to be creating. He did lack end product, especially in that position, but towards the back end of the season when he was playing to the left side of that three behind Andy Cook with Walker and Banks, he did look really good, and he did look impressive. He did look to take players on, and I think he was getting a couple more goal contributions, but unfortunately he didn't do it enough. He wasn't consistent enough throughout the season, and just when he was hitting form he did get injured. Hopefully next season he does come back and deliver, which he hasn't done this season, and fight for his spot, because I think we all have to accept that this summer we've got to be looking at bringing 2, maybe 3 wingers in, and that would put his place in jeopardy. So a big pre-season ahead for Harry Chapman. And the man again who got the most assists for Bradford City this season was Andy Cook with 8 assists. Behind him was Scott Banks with 6, Richie Smallwood with 6, and Brad Halliday with 6 as well, coming from right back. It does further emphasise how good Andy Cook was. 31 goals, 8 assists, and he has massively improved with his overall play, so he does get the top assister. In terms of the player of the season, my prediction was Jamie Walker. How massively I got that one wrong. Possibly biggest disappointment of the season because of the high expectations going into it. The player who puts the most effort in, the work rate he offers, but apart from that, what else do you get from Jamie Walker? Just a 1 assist this season and 5 goals. Only played 26 games, hampered by injuries. He came in on loan from Hearts at the back end of last season. We kept him, and like I say, it just hasn't worked out. And hopefully next season he gets rid of those injury problems, gets fit, and can hopefully be pushing towards being the player of the season again, because we know what his potential is, we know the capabilities that he can play, but unfortunately this season he hasn't met those standards, and as an attacking midfielder you've got to be pulling up better numbers than that. And I do think it goes to show that we didn't recruit better in that position as well, because when Walker was injured we were playing a winger whose isn't preferred position is in that number 10, and maybe keeping a Callum Cook as a backup, whether he would have liked that or not. We should have been recruiting players who would be a good backup to Jamie Walker when not fit, and throughout the season that position would massively cost us. So for young player of the season, I awarded that to Cian Scales at the beginning of the season, and he went out on loan to Farsley Celtic. He did well at Farsley. Unfortunately we did release him. I thought he had potential to maybe push Jamie Walker as a backup, or maybe get a National League loan move in the summer, or maybe even a lower table team in League Two, and maybe try and build his way up to Bradford City, because I do think he could have had the potential to play for us. So you could give it to him if you're looking at academy players, because he did do well out on loan at Farsley Celtic. But maybe to take one from the first team. Jake Young, who started the season with much promise, as you know, the goals came, he was banging them in from outside the box. You know, he scored some rockets early on in the season, and he was a player who we did think should have got more game time in the early stages of the season. Then he went out on loan to Barrow, struggled to make an impact over there. But if you're talking anyone from the first team, it probably has to go to a Jake Young or a Keane Scales, and Scales, you know, he's just been released. So I predicted the best signing to be Richie Smallwood. Now I did like him, I thought he had a fairly solid season, maybe not the season that we would have expected from a midfielder. He did chip in with a few assists, but as well it is important to say that he was a set piece taker, and you would expect, you know, a fair amount of set pieces to be assisted by him. But in terms of actual play, I thought he was okay, but like I say, he isn't going to be the best player from this season who we signed. So maybe two candidates would be Sam Stubbs and Darry Lewis. Fantastic keeper, deserves to win awards this season. He saved us in many games, many big saves, and I'm sure he's destined to be a championship keeper at some point in his career. 25 years of age. It looks like he could be staying with City, touch wood, and hopefully he can, and he can build off this season, and then hopefully take us into League One, and then we'll see where he goes from there. But he's got great potential at still the age of 25. He's relatively young for a goalkeeper. So my surprise standout at the beginning of the season was Emmanuel Osadebe. He came in with quite a bit of criticism from former clubs. Walsall and Gillingham said he had an attitude problem and were happy to see him leave. When he's played, he hasn't looked particularly good, to be honest. He has looked a bit rusty, a bit given, but he got injured on the first game of the season. It would be unfair to criticise him for that, but he definitely wasn't a surprise standout, maybe in terms of getting an injury so early on. But really, you've got to be looking at players like Andy Cook getting it, because no one really anticipated him to get 30 goals of the season. First ever City player to be given the Golden Boot whilst playing for City. He's just had an unbelievable season. Like I said, no one really thought that he would hit the heights that he has this season, and a lot of us wrote him off. I mean, I was one of them, I'll admit. I thought it would be good if we maybe cut ties with him, maybe if he does go to Barrow, who we were linked with, and you know, he looked like he was going to be back up to Oliver. But to get 30 odd goals, the goals he scored as well, the impact he's had on the team, definitely a surprise standout. But fan favourite, I give it to Jamie Walker. I probably thought maybe his work rate, his energy and his commitment and desire that he gives to a team, the fans would feed off that and love that, and they have. But unfortunately he hasn't played enough. Only 5 goals and 1 assist was it from a number 10 who's had injury problems. You know, he can't be the fan favourite that we all hope. Also improved player, again another interesting one. You could be looking at another Andy Cook, maybe Gilead from last season were playing on the wing, this season being a solid player in the middle of the park, although come with criticism because he hasn't performed and got the goal contributions that we want from midfield. But I think certain players have certain roles, and he has done well with his role that he's been given this season, to be tenacious and get into challenges. But I ended up giving it to Matty Folds back in July. He didn't have the best of seasons last season. He was steady, but I thought he could go from steady, maybe average, to a good player who can make his stamp on the team. With Rydal's injuries, I expected him to make that position his own and maybe have a real pushing season. But unfortunately, it hadn't quite worked out again, like most of the things this season. It wasn't the season we needed from him. I think we need a left back who's got pace, good going forward, but solid defensively. And he's not solid defensively, he's vulnerable like Liam Rydal, and going forward he wasn't the best, and he was like Liam Rydal in terms of his pace, and I think Rydal's better at crossing than him, but you know, Folds is slightly quicker. Obviously he's from Bradford, so he gets a bit more praise when it maybe isn't necessary, but I wish him well, whatever happens next season for Matty Folds. Probably won't be at Bradford City, maybe it's another loan spell to see out his contract. So at the beginning of the season I also predicted us to come 5th in the Sky Bet League 2 season, and we technically did, because we did come joint 5th on goal difference with Carlisle, who we obviously lost to in the playoffs, but only by a couple of goal difference, only by 5. So it was a really tight League 2 season, and ultimately we only finished 7 points off 3rd, and it was the end of the season that did cost us automatic promotion and playoffs, because we only had 2 wins in 7. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Like the video if you did, subscribe if you're new. Have a good one.